Here's how to install heated seats in your car. This will also show you how to replace the seat covers. First thing I'm going to need to do is remove the seat from the car. We're going to start by removing a 14mm bolt here at the front and also over here. Then at the back I'm going to remove this plastic trim right here. One more plastic trim on this side. Then remove the 14mm bolts at the back. I'm just going to reach back at this tab here and pull out the electrical connector for the power seat. Now if your car has an airbag wire, you're probably going to want to disconnect the battery before you disconnect the airbags. Now that the seat is inside, I'm going to proceed to remove the leather covers. I'm going to start by popping off the switch covers. Then remove this plate. Underneath the chair, I'm going to remove two 12mm bolts to unbolt the bottom of the seat cushion from the chair rail. And one at the bottom here. Undo this clip. On the front side of the chair, there's a 12mm bolt holding it in. I'm going to remove that. And on this side, another 12mm bolt. Lastly, we're just going to disconnect a couple of the electrical connectors from the chair so that the cushion can be freed. The reclining motor wire. Now you're free to remove the seat bottom cushion from the chair. To remove the cover for the chair back, I've got the seat flipped upside down. I'm going to come in and remove this C-clip to release the bottom of the leather. Now if you pull back the leather, you'll see that there's these string things that are holding the sponge onto the seat, and there's 5 hog rings that hold it on that need to be removed. Again, I'm going to come in and clip this hog ring, remove the string, and remove the cloth from the rings. To install the seat heater pads, I'm just going to roll back the leather a little bit and I'll be able to tuck the pad under here. If you need to change the leather cover, all you have to do is remove the headrest and the leather cover is free to slip off. This is the heated seat kit that comes from eBay. It comes with 2 pads, one for the back and one for the bottom of the seat cushion, as well as a wiring harness. The wiring harness is pretty simple. It comes with a 10 amp inline fuse, a relay, as well as a low and high switch with an indicator LED. Wiring this kit up is pretty simple. You just connect a switch 12 volt power source to the fuse end, then drill a hole into the console and mount your switch, and then connect the other 2 ends to the heater pads underneath the seats. I'm going to install the heated seat pad. It comes with double-sided tape that I'm going to peel back. You can cut it if you need to clear for things like hog rings, and then I'm going to fold back the leather like this and slip it underneath the strings. When positioning the pad, make sure you push it in to all the crevices in the sponge, as well as make sure that the wires running right here as well as the thermistor is not bothering you when somebody's sitting in the seat. Once you've made sure the positioning is right of the pad, I'm just going to pull out the tape and press the pad down. Here's what the pad looks like when it's installed. With the chair back on its back, I'm going to need to reattach the strings to the frame. To do that, I'm going to be using a hog ring pliers along with hog rings. You could also get away with using zip ties. The way hog rings work is that they're a U-shaped nail, and then you take it and put it into a special hog ring pliers, and when you crimp it, it turns it into a circle, and that will crimp 2 things together. Now I'm going to reattach the string to the frame using the hog ring pliers. I'm just going to go over that and crimp the 2 together. I'm going to run the wire out the side of the seat cushion, come in with the seat cushion here, and reconnect the C-clamp as I pull the leather tight. Next we're going to start on the seat cushion. To take the leather off, I'm going to first start by removing these 3 tabs, just moving them down. Then over here I need to remove a total of 6 hog rings. Then I'm going to start at the far corner and peel back the leather. It's just C-clips holding it on. And I can remove the metal base away from the leather bottom. Like that. And then I can work the sponge carefully away from the leather. The top of this leather is held in by a total of 9 hog rings, 3 on each ring that need to be removed. Once all of the hog rings are removed, I'm just going to pull back the leather here and then bringing the heated pad, place it down in position, press down into the grooves, and then come in with a marker and mark the areas where the hog rings are to be going through, which we're going to have to trim the pad. You can trim the pads with just a pair of scissors. Before I insert my trim pad onto the sponge, I'm going to be using a zip tie for these two hog rings. Now I'm going to install the pad. I'll pull back some of the tape here. Just line it up with the zip ties, and then once we're happy with the location of the pad on the sponge, I'm going to pull away the tape and press it down. Now I'm going to pull down the leather cover and install the zip ties. As you can see, I've relocated this hole to here to better match up where the pad is, and one over here on this side. Now is probably a good time to repair any rips in the leather. To reattach this rod to the sponge, I'm going to be using a hog ring. So I'm going to light up these two rods here, the sponge and the cushion. Bring in the hog ring pliers, squeeze them together and release, and that's it. Now it's just a matter of reinstalling the leather over the sponge. Then I'm going to bring in the base and reinstall it. Before I close up all of the leather, I just ran the wire through the sponge. I just poked a tiny hole. I'm going to start buttoning back up the leather onto the frame. Again, it just uses the C-clips. Just install it like that. Once all the leather around the chair are connected properly with the C-channels, I'm going to go ahead and replace the hog rings on the bottom of the chair. Next, I'm going to replace the chair cushion onto the frame. Then I'm going to replace the two 12mm bolts at the bottom of the seat cushion at the back. Next, I'm going to replace the two 12mm bolts at the front here. I'm also going to replace the electrical wire to the reclining motor. I'm just going to reinstall some of the electrical connectors. Next, I'm going to replace this little panel that goes over the switches, the reclining lever, the sliding lever. Next, I'm just going to clip this cover back on. Finally, you're going to want to zip tie these wires to the seat so it doesn't interfere with the mechanism. The seat installation is complete. To help route the wiring, I'm going to remove the center console from the car. So I've marked off the area on the center console where I'd be installing my switches. Use a hole saw and drill a hole into the console. Now I'm going to install the switches into the console. To remove the front part of this console, I'm going to have to pull out the trim going around the HVAC and radio. I'm going to remove the glove box. Now I'm going to remove the center front console. Next, I need to remove this panel, which is where the fuse box is. Next, I need to remove this metal plate. Now we can remove this plate. Quite a mess I got here. According to my fuse diagram, I've actually got a 20 amp seat heater fuse here that I can tap into. Now if your car doesn't have a seat heater fuse, you could probably run it off of the cigarette lighter. So to tap into the fuse box, I'm using a wire soldered onto a 20 amp fuse as my fuse tap, and I'm going to insert it into the fuse box. Then I'm going to connect both the positive heat seat wires to the fuse tap. Then I'm going to connect an electrical cover over my connection and make sure it's nice and secure. Then I'm going to cover the connection with some electrical tape. Then I'm going to connect the negative side of the seat heater to this eyelet. Then I'm going to connect this eyelet to this grounding screw and screw it into the body of the car to get a solid connection. Then I'm going to run my wire from the fuse box towards the center console where I'll be connecting my switches. I've positioned my relay over here and ran the wires towards the console for the switches. Next, I'm going to run this wire underneath the carpet to connect to the seat. I'm going to start by tucking the wire under the carpet over here and then pulling it out through here. Similarly, I ran a wire under the carpet on the passenger side. Finally, before we close up all the panels, I'm just going to tuck in these fuses and then run a zip tie around these wires here. Now that all the wires are secured and zip tied, I'm going to start replacing the panels. Next, I'm going to reinstall the center front part of the console. Then we can replace the centerpiece that goes around the HVAC. Next, I'm going to install the glove box. Next, I'm going to replace the lower dash panel underneath the driver's side. Next, I'm going to install the center console and then make the connections for the seat heater, which is right here. And I'm going to install the console once everything's connected. And I'm going to replace the trim around the shifter. Before I install the seats, I'm just going to give the car a quick vacuum. Next, we're going to install the seats into the car. Before we bolt down the seat, I'm going to connect the heated seat pad to the connection under the chair. One here and one over here. Don't forget the power seat connection. I'm going to run a zip tie around these two wires just so that the wire doesn't get caught in the seat mechanism while it's moving. Now that all the wires are connected, I can position the seat, put a little bit of anti-seize onto the bolts and install them. And then just tighten it down. Next, I'm going to replace the cover that goes over the chair bolts and replace this cover over here. Finally, I'm going to start the car, turn on the heated seats, sit back, relax, and enjoy.